Hey, this is Sam from Tigit Motorbikes. In today's video, I want to talk about a comment that I get a lot as a motorbike trainer. I really want to learn how to ride dirt bikes, but I'm too short and the bike is too tall. If you really want to learn how to ride a bike, a taller bike, then you can. You might be thinking that's easy for you to say because you're pretty tall yourself, but let's even out the playing field with John's KTM. This bike is set up for John. John's 2 meters tall and I'm clearly not 2 meters tall. So I'm going to talk about some techniques to help you get over your fear of tall bikes. So if you do put a lowering kit on the bike, it will lower and reduce your ground clearance, as well as mess with the geometry of the bike. The bike was designed to be this way and with the rider position. If you put a lowering kit on it, you're going to turn it into a cruiser and it's going to be a lot harder to handle. You can do it on your own bike, but it needs to be done very carefully. It's much better to upgrade your skill than lower the bike. Okay, now I'm going to get on the bike. You can get on from the right or the left side, whichever you feel comfortable with. I really recommend practicing everything on left and right side. When you're riding the trails, you don't always have the option on where to stop or where to get on the bike. So you do have to practice both. You can practice getting on the bike with the kickstand up. In fact, I do recommend it. In trail riding, you might not always have the option to get on the bike and then push the kickstand with your left foot. So I do recommend practicing with the kickstand up. So make sure your leg is nice and straight and you're not kicking the back seat and throwing yourself off balance. Right, I have to trust myself. I'm gonna shift my weight to the right-hand side. And it's a lot of side slipping. So before you even ride the bike, I would recommend getting comfortable, shifting your weight from left to right. A lot of people want to be square and centered on the seat. You can't do this with this kind of bike. You don't have that option. You need to practice with your leg kind of sitting on the seat. Make sure you've got your toes pressing your weight into the foot pegs. So it is a taller bike, but the center of gravity is a bit higher because of the height of the bike. So it will stay upright without too much effort to keep it that way. Okay. The number one thing you need when you're riding any bike really is balance. So I would recommend practicing slow speed maneuvers, tight turns, keeping that balance, and also standing up on the foot pegs. Once you're standing up on the foot pegs, you're at the same advantage as any other rider. We're also going to practice today stopping with 1 foot down. I'm sure it feels good to stop with 2 feet on the floor, but you don't always have this option and you need to practice in a training situation before you do get on the trails. Just going to swing my right leg over, make sure it's nice and straight. Tip the weight this side and kickstand up. Okay, ready? Alright, so one thing that you really have to practice as a shorter rider is standing up on the foot pegs and practicing your balance on the bike. The better balance you have, the less likely you will to have to put a foot down on the ground and save yourself. Alright, now we're going to practice a few stops. So I'm going to show you what it looks like stopping sitting down. Can you see how much I have to lean into my left leg and how straight it has to be? If the ground's a little bit lower than it is right now, I probably would lose balance or fall off the bike. Now we're going to practice a stop standing up and putting your foot down. You'll see the difference. Okay, right now I'm standing up on the bike. I'm going to stop with my left foot down from a standing position. You can see that it makes a bit of a difference where your positioning is on the bike and your leg is more on the seat than if you were sitting down. You might take the risk of falling.
So basically you got to lean off the bike, not just sit in the middle all the time.
Yeah, I understand that standing up can feel scary, especially if it's your first time on a dirt bike. But as soon as your feet are on the pegs, you're at the same advantage of any other rider. So I'll be honest, you do have to have a little higher skill level, or you do have to practice more if you're a shorter rider. For a tall bike, you need to plan out where you're going to stop. You might not always have this luxury, especially on the trails with your friend might stop in front of you, maybe there's a buffalo. But if you practice this in training, then it becomes easier in practice. Right now I'm going to practice some stopping drills where the ground's a little bit lower.
So can you put 2 feet on the ground?
Or not really, not comfortably. To be honest, I feel like I have more power doing this.
Okay.
Okay, let's try it on the left side. It is a little bit harder when you can't really weight your left foot onto the foot pegs. To get some balance, it takes a little bit of commitment, but you're going to have to shift your weight onto the left to get going. Alright, now I can't actually get my right foot back onto the foot pegs very well, so I'm going to have to jump to the right a little bit. And if you're a shorter rider, you can't really rely on putting a foot on the ground. So it's very good practice just to stop and slow. Going to take a bit of guts. Okay, I can't actually reach on the left. So, I mean, you can shift your weight to the left, but if you want to start from this position, it takes quite a bit of balance, but you're going to have to push on the left and then get going. You can practice this with smaller bikes, with any kind of bike, and I do recommend training with this as well. So one thing that I'm going to talk about is if you do learn how to conquer a tall bike, you can travel anywhere in the world, you can rent any bike, and you're not going to have that fear of being on a too tall bike. If you're modifying everything on your own bike, then it's going to be very difficult to rent other bikes without wanting to modify those bikes too. Another thing, before you even get on the bike, I would say take it off the kickstand and start to lean it and feel comfortable moving its weight around. Dirt bikes look big and daunting, but they're actually not that heavy compared to sports bikes or ADV bikes. But you do need to know how to save your energy and use your muscle to your advantage. So for a KTM and most enduro bikes, you cannot do the kickstand pivot turn where you lean the bike on the kickstand and pull it around. For this bike, you're going to press it against your leg and then you're going to pull.
That's amazing. I can't believe you did that.
Really? You just push your leg. All right, so you're going to pull with your right hand, you're going to push forward with your knee, and then you can move the bike around. When you're on tight trails, you might not always have the room to be able to turn around, so being able to move the bike is going to work to your advantage. And it does take a bit of strength training too, I won't lie. For KTM, they make aluminium kickstands, so they're not made to have the full weight of the bike on the kickstand. I almost feel like I need to take like a running leap at it, just to get the weight over to this side. So with an ADV bike, the weight is lower and heavier. Honestly, I think it's the same challenge between this bike. This one you have to overcome its height. This one you have to overcome its weight. It's about 200 kilos, this bike. Same concept where you kind of rest it on your right leg. Your left hand grabs the handlebars all the way to the left and you're going to pull on the back rack. Ooh. Wow. Not too bad, quite easy actually. I can try and pick up the CV. Yeah? Okay, I'm up for that challenge. You want to drop the CV?
Our bikes are crash proof.
I'm going to turn around. I'm going to try and sit into the bike. Oh, look at that, John. There we go, not too bad, but you do have to use your legs a bit more. You got to sit back into the bike, kind of like a backwards squat. There's a lot of YouTube videos and tutorials on how to pick up your bike correctly. Obviously, it's not going to be easy the first time, but as you can see in the video, my student Jerica is quite good and she's surprised at how easy it can be.